Yes, a very good morning to all of you. So I heard that the class went slow yesterday. Okay, right. So let's compensate for that today, starting with the chapter on the digital auditing and the assurance, right? So let's begin our day with the discussion of a new chapter which has come into the syllabus. That is the chapter on the digital auditing and the assurance, right? Now, in this particular chapter, we have the 9 points for the discussion, right? So point number 1 in this chapter is regarding digital audit, and point number 2 in this chapter is regarding auditing digitally. Oh my God, what do they mean by this? Okay, digital audit and auditing digitally. Applied criteria applied. Now today, digital audit, auditing digitally. What is exactly the matter? You key audit matter. Yes. What do you, can anybody give me a sensible answer of what do you think would be the difference between these two terms of digital audit and auditing digitally? Digital audit means you are doing the audit of the technology. That means you are auditing the computers, the auditing the systems in the organization. That is digital audit. And what is auditing digitally? You're making the use of computers to do the audit. So when you're making use of the technology to do the audit. So when you do the audit of technology, that is the digital audit. And when you make use of technology to do the audit, right, that is auditing digitally, right? So those are the first two discussions that we have in this chapter. Now for digital audit, we have 4 questions over there. One, what is the concept or the meaning of digital audit? Then what are the key challenges for the auditor while doing the digital audit? Then what are the advantages of the digital audit, and what are the considerations for the auditor when doing the digital audit, right? So that's question number 1A, 1B, 1C and 1D. We can put it that way, right? That's the first one, digital audit. Then after digital audit, we have the auditing digitally. Again, auditing digitally, first we have the concept, that is the meaning of auditing digitally, right? Then what are the expectations from an auditor? What are the expectations from an auditor? Then here they have clubbed together the key features and the advantages of the auditing digitally, right? So the key features and the advantages. And last question over there is again regarding the considerations. So next set of questions we have over there is the 2B, 2C, 2A, 2B, 2C and the 2D. Right, so that is question number 1 and 2 regarding your digital audit and then the auditing digitally. Third question in this chapter is regarding understanding the IT environment. Right, so it says as an auditor, when you have to do the audit in the IT environment, how do you obtain an understanding of the IT environment in an organization, and what are the key areas which are covered in the IT environment of an organization? Right, so IT environment and also what are the key areas in the IT environment. Then after the IT environment, we talk about the IT risks and the IT dependencies. You know, information technology, what are the risks associated with the use of information technology, and then what all are you now dependent on the computer? So what are the IT dependencies? And obviously if we are dependent on IT, that means we need to have some strong controls over there. Right, so what controls are they talking about? The access security, the program change, and also the data center and the network operation controls. Right, so access security control, program change control, and the data center and the network operation controls. Right, so because you are dependent on IT, it says that is why you need to have these controls in the IT environment. So one question we are going to discuss is what are the IT risk, information technology risk, or I can simply call it as the technology risk. And second question, we have the IT dependencies. So we have a question on the 5 types of the IT dependencies. Right, so 2 questions over there, one regarding the IT environment, next question regarding the IT risks and the IT dependencies. Then after the IT risks and IT dependencies, the next question which we have over there is regarding the cyber risk, or also known as the cyber attack. Right, so just as a human being gets a heart attack, a computer gets a cyber attack. Right, so here what we talk about is the different types of the cyber attack. Types of cyber attack in which you have the, yes, one is the domain, yes, what you say, the denial of service, then the DNS tunneling, then the insider threat, then there is some malware, then there is phishing, then there is the spoofing, right? So different whaling, wishing, smishing, spoofing, right? So all these are the different types of the cyber attack that we need to discuss over there. Right, so types of cyber attack. Then they talk about the stages of the cyber risks. Right, so what are the three stages of the cyber risk? Okay, first you assess, then you check the impact, and then you manage the cyber risk. And next question which we have over there is regarding the cyber security framework. Right, so in an organization, just as we said, there is the applicable financial reporting framework. What is also required is a cyber security framework. So you have to identify the risk, then you have to protect yourself from the risk. In spite of protecting, still the risk might occur. So that is, you have to detect it. And once you detect, you need to respond. And once you respond, then you need to recover. Right, so that is the key elements of the cyber security framework. Okay, now when you're operating in this IT environment, it says you need to have the controls over the few things, right? Controls regarding how the electronic transfer of the funds is, right? Controls over how the electronic transfer of the funds is done, controls over the vendor setup, over the patch management, right? So they talk about the three controls over there. Which three control? One, the controls over the electronic transfer of the funds, then the controls over the vendor setup, right? So you want to add a new supplier to your list of suppliers, so what control? And also the controls over the patch management. Okay, then under the cyber risk setup only, under the discussion of cyber risk itself, they discuss one more concept over there called as the remote audit. And remote audit, wherein we have the meaning of the remote audit, right? Then after that, the advantages of the remote audit, and then obviously the disadvantages of the remote audit, right? So very important question for your exams, right? So that's the discussion regarding the cyber risk and the remote audit, which is there in the point number 5. Right, what did I tell you? In the chapter of DA, that is digital auditing and assurance, we have the 9 headings to be discussed over there. What is heading 1? Digital audit. What is heading 2? Auditing digitally. What is heading 3? IT environment. Then the fourth one, IT risks and dependencies. 5, cyber risks and the remote audit, right? Cyber risks and the remote audit. Then now we next talk about the emerging technologies in audit. Okay, nowadays you are doing the audit with the help of the computer. So what are the emerging technologies that you have in the audit, right? So this emerging technologies in audit is nothing but your data analytics, and data analytics is nothing but your computer assisted audit techniques. And here they talk about the 4 types of the computer assisted audit techniques. One is your audit command language, second is the Alteryx, third is the Power BI, and the fourth one is the caseware, right? Caseware. So 4 types of the data analytic techniques, right? The computer assisted audit technique. So that is point number 6. What is point number 6? It is regarding the emerging technologies in audit. Then point number 7, it is regarding the automated tools in audit, right? Point number 7, it is regarding the automated tools in the audit. And in the automated tools in the audit, one, they are talking about the IoT. You know what is IoT? Yes, they are talking about the Internet of Things, where a non-living thing starts behaving as if it's a living thing. Right, so that's the Internet of Things, right? Then second, you have the AI, that is the artificial intelligence. Then after that, you have the blockchain. Right, under the blockchain, you have one more, that is the NFT, that is your non-fungible token. Right, you have the non-fungible token under the blockchain. And the last one in the automated tools you have is the RPA, that is your robotic process automation. Right, robotic process automation. So basically, we have 4 points for discussion over here. Internet of Things, A, right? Then artificial intelligence, then the blockchain, and then you have the robotic process automation. For each one of them, for Internet of Things, for artificial intelligence, for blockchain, and for the RPA, for each one of them, we have to discuss the MAC. What is the MAC? We have to discuss the meaning, we have to consider what are the audit implications and what are the common risks, right? The audit implications and the common risks which are associated with using that particular technology. So it's like, what is the meaning of IoT? What are the audit implications of IoT? What are the common risks associated with IoT? Same thing for artificial intelligence. Okay, what is the meaning of artificial intelligence? What is the audit implication and what are the common risks? Rather, if you look at your RTP May 24, what is the question over there? Okay, blockchain, what are the audit implications and the common risks associated with the use of blockchain? Right, so you understand, we get to see these 12 questions over there because we have the 4 headings, and for each heading we have the 3 questions. What are the 3 questions? Meaning, audit implications and the common risks associated. Okay, right. Then after the point number 7, we have the point number 8, which is the considerations and the objectives of auditing digitally. Right, the considerations and the objectives of auditing digitally. Right, so again, this is similar to your point number 4. What was your point number 4? IT risk, right? So here what they talk about, IT is what? Information technology. So here the risks are simply called as the technology risk, right? So technology risk, and again, what are the key concerns for the auditor, right? So this we can write it is similar to point number 4, right? Similar to point number 4. And then after the point number 8, what is the last heading that we have in this chapter? Last heading we have is the next generation audit. Right, last heading which we have in this chapter of DA is the next generation audit. And in the next generation audit, what will be the overall changes? And then after that, it says in the next generation audit, you will be making use of the drone technology. So physical verification of inventory, no need for you to go and attend. You send the drone and it will attend the physical verification count, right? So drone technology. Then you have the AR. What is the AR? The augmented reality. Right, AR, the augmented reality. Then the VR is what? It is the virtual reality. And then last one what we have over there is the metaverse, right? So metaverse. So now what does it say? Even the meetings and conferences, the education, the banking transaction, asset management, all that can be done in the metaverse. And again, for all these 4 points, we have a small common heading over there called as the common risks. Right, that what are the common risks? Okay, so just to give you an outline of our discussion in this chapter, what are the 9 headings that we need to discuss? Digital audit, then auditing digitally, then understanding the IT environment, then you have to understand the IT risks and the IT dependencies, and then also the controls. Okay, right. Then after IT risks, IT dependencies, next you have the cyber risk or the cyber attack. Right, so we have the types, the stages, and the framework for the cyber risk, cyber attack. And here we also have the discussion regarding the remote audit, right? Then 6th one is regarding the emerging technologies in the audit, right? So that's your data analytics, right? Then 7 is the automated tools in the audit, right? The automated tools. What are the 4 automated tools? Yes, the Internet of Things, the artificial intelligence, the blockchain, under which you have the non-fungible token, and then the robotic process automation. Then the point number 8 is the considerations and the objectives of auditing digitally. And the last one over there is the next generation audit. Right, the next generation audit. So this is at least for you to know, okay, what is included in the discussion of this particular chapter. Also, maybe for us to become familiar with the new terms, with the IT terms which are there in this chapter, we can just have a starting point of an A to Z, but obviously you can keep adding more points over there. Like, A will stand for the artificial intelligence, right? A for the artificial intelligence. B could be standing for the blockchain. You can also put the Bitcoin over there, right? Then after B, you have the C, wherein we talk about the cyber risk, the cyber attacks. Okay, right? Then after that, D, 100%, that has to be the data analytics. Also, what I can mention over there is the drone technology. What I can also mention over there is the drone technology, right? Then E, we have a heading called as the emerging technologies in the audit, right? The emerging technologies in the audit, which is nothing but your data analytics. Then F, a very big problem with the use of the computer, a very big problem with the use of the computers is the failure to make the necessary changes. That means when your system was designed, the rate of GST was 12%, but now the rate of GST has been revised to 18%. But you did not make the change in your system. So that is why your system will continue to charge the GST at the older rate. So you fail to make the necessary changes, right? So failure to make the necessary changes. Then another very big problem with the use of computers is the hacking. What is hacking? You gain the unauthorized access to the data or to the computer program, right? So gaining unauthorized access to the data or to the computer program, what is that? That is the hacking, right? So that's gain unauthorized access, right? Then gone are the times where we talk about LAN, MAN, WAN and the virtual private network and so, right? Today we'll live in a time where we have the hyper-connected networks, right? The hyper-connected networks, right? That is your H. Then I obviously has to be your IoT, that is your Internet of Things, right? Then after the I, you have the J. J is what? Jeopardize. What is jeopardize? To compromise and to reduce the effectiveness of the compliance, right? So you might compromise on the controls in the IT environment. You are dependent on the computers and the computers may not operate effectively, right? So that is your J. Then after J, you have the K, which is your KPI. What is KPI? It is your key performance indicators, right? So you want to see how well the organization is performing. You can check the profit year on year. Right? So that's like a key performance indicator, right? Then after the K, you have the L over there, right? So L, it says if you don't comply with the cyber laws and all, it might lead to a lot of litigations, right? So you may have to go through a lot of litigations, right? Then M obviously has to stand for the metaverse. It also could be standing for the machine learning, right? It could also be standing for the machine learning. Then N is regarding your natural language processing, right? Where is the Alexa and the Siri, right? They can understand the normal human language, right? So that's your natural language processing, right? So that could be called as the N, right? Then O, it says with the use of computers, you have a lot of the operational risk, lot of the executional risk, and implementing an entire organization with the help of IT. It says lot of, what do you say, operational risks associated over there, right? Then P is where you have one of the type of cyber attack, which you call it as the phishing, which we call it as the phishing, right? Then Q, which is going to come in your next generation audit, is the use of the quantum technology. Right? What is going to come in your next generation audit is the quantum technology. R obviously has to stand for the robotic process automation and also stand for the remote audit, right? Then S, wherein we have the smishing, right? Smishing. In addition to that, we can also have the term spoofing over there, right? So again, that's the type of the cyber attack, right? Then T, with T, we have the term of the technology risk, right? That is the IT risk, right? Then U, we can call it as the unmanned aerial vehicle. Can anybody give me one word for unmanned aerial vehicle? Yes, it is nothing but your drone, right? So that's the unmanned aerial vehicle, right? Then V, again a type of cyber attack called as the wishing, right? W, again a type of cyber attack called as the wheeling. And then there is nothing in front of XYZ, right? So X, we just keep it as, probably the Twitter or so, because that's the new symbol they have, right? Then Y, we keep it as you only live once, and Z is, you say that Gen Z. But anyways, this has no relevance. Okay, what we have is only up to the A to W. And then if we have to complete it, we can just add something over there, right? So as and when you go through this chapter and you get to see more and more terms, you can keep on adding it to the ABCD over here. Like normal audit, we say, reasonable assurance, risk of material misstatement, inherent risk, control risk. That's the terminology. Similarly, for the chapter of DA, this is the terminology which you need to use. Okay, right? So let's just take an outline of the chapter so that you become familiar with the content of this chapter. One, you have the digital audit, right? Then in digital audit, what is the digital audit? Then what are the key features of the digital audit? Then what are the advantages of the digital audit. And then you have the considerations and the challenges of the digital audit, right? So what is the point over there, right? The point number 1, which is regarding the digital audit, and which you have the concept and the key features, right? Challenges is coming in the last one, right? So the key features of digital audit, the advantages and the considerations. Okay, right. Then after digital audit, what is the next one? Auditing digitally, right? So what is the concept of auditing digitally? What are the expectations from the auditor? Then what are the features and the advantages? They've combined it together over here, features and the advantages. And then the D point which we have is the considerations in the auditing digitally, right? So that is your point number 2. Then point number 3 which you have is understanding the IT environment, right? So again, this is the only one chapter which was question which was there in the old course also, right? And again asked in the exam, okay, how do you understand the automated environment, IT environment, and also how you document the same, right? So you have the IT environment, and also what are the key areas for an auditor to understand in the IT environment, right? So that's a new question over there for the IT environment. Then after the IT environment, next question we have is the IT risk, right? So what are the risks arising from the use of the IT? Then after the IT risk, next question we have is the IT dependencies, right? So we have the 5 types of the IT dependencies. Then because you're dependent on IT, you need to have certain controls, right? So you need to have the access security control, then have the program change control, and also the data center and the network operation control. After the IT risk, we talk about the cyber risk, right? Cyber risk, again, first, what is the meaning of cyber risk, and then what are the most common types of the cyber attack, right? So they talk about the malware, the DOS, phishing, right? So we have these 8-9 types of the cyber attack, right? Then after the cyber attacks, we have the stages of the cyber risk, and then we have the cyber security framework. Then when you're operating in this IT environment, it says one, you should be having the controls over the, right? So there is a case study, controls around the vendor setup, then controls over the electronic transfer of the funds, and also the controls around the patch management. And in addition to this controls, they also talk about the remote audit. Remote audit, one, the meaning and the considerations, and after the considerations you have the advantages and the disadvantages of the remote audit, right? The advantages and the disadvantages of the remote audit. So point number 5 is cyber risk and the remote audit. Okay, then point number 6 is the emerging technologies in audit, in which we talk about the data analytics. And what do we talk about? ACL, right? Then the Alteryx, then the Power BI, right? So that's your B, and then the C, that is the caseware, right? So that's the emerging technologies in audit. After that, you have the automated tools in audit. What are the automated tools? Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, then you have the blockchain, under which you have the non-fungible token, and then the robotic process automation. And for each one of them, you have to discuss the MAC. What is the MAC? The meaning, then after that, the audit implications and the common risk, right? So meaning, then the audit implications and the common risk, right? Again, for artificial intelligence, MAC, right? Again, for blockchain, you have the MAC. In RTP May 24, right? In the RTP May 24, they've asked the question regarding the audit implication and what are the common risks which are associated with the use of the blockchain, right? So that's there in your RTP May 24, right? Then under blockchain, we also have the discussion on the NFT, right? So wherein you have the digital ownership of an asset. You create a piece of music and you want to own that piece of music. So that piece of music, you can own it by way of owning it as a non-fungible token. So it's like a digital signature. Okay, right? So non-fungible token, and then after that you have the robotic process automation. So if a company has to comply with Ind AS 16, that is property, plant and equipment, how they can automate that compliance with the Ind AS? They've given an example over here. If a company wants to comply with the Ind AS, then how they can automate the controls for that compliance is an example that they have given over here. Okay, right. Then the control considerations or the objectives of auditing, digitally. So here again they talk about the technology risk and then about the key considerations, key steps for the auditor while yes auditors are doing the audit in the changing technology environment. And then last one wherein they talk about the next generation audit. So next generation audit, how your focus is shifting. So right now we've been focusing on sampling, okay, from the population you select the sample. It says now from sample you will again go back to full population analysis. Right, so that's the next generation audit. Why? Because it's repetitive nature of calculation. You, with the help of computers, with the use of the data analytics, it says now 100% testing of the population will become possible, right? So you go from the separate sampling to the full population. From multiple database, you have to go to one single database. Why? Because again, see, first there was a time of centralization, then again came the decentralization. Now again from decentralization, we are back to centralization because of the IT, right? So one database, then disconnected tools, you have the integrated ecosystem. Instead of manual risk assessment, you have the dynamic data-driven risk assessment. Instead of separate communication, you have the embedded communication. Instead of repetitive task, you do the high value work and capacity for growth. Instead of manual work, there is the automation. And instead of ad hoc insights, you can give insights from a broader audit, right? So what does the next generation audit aim at, right? This is a candidate for the question in the exam. And then in the next generation audit, what does it say? One, you could make use of the drone technology, then the augmented reality, then the virtual reality, and then you could also have the metaverse. And now what also? Universe is there, but now there will also be a simultaneous metaverse. So now what does it say? Your banking will take place in the metaverse. Your asset management can take place in the metaverse, right? Virtual financial education and training, meetings and conferences. Rather, Reliance AGM recently took place in the metaverse. Right, so meetings and conferences and the data visualization and the analytics, all this can now happen in the metaverse. And again they say what are the common risks associated, and then it's the test your understanding, right? So it's been historical, it's been inherent, like whether it's the chapter of the CIS environment or the chapter of the automated environment or not the chapter on DA, it's always some sort of a reluctance towards the study of this chapter. Right, so at least now you know okay, these is how the chapter has been divided into. Okay, this is all, and obviously it's brand new, so it's just a matter of time that all this content which is there in the chapter will come and sit in the question bank. And again, earlier old syllabus we knew that there was a chapter called as the peer review and the quality review. So what we used to say, what is the weightage of this chapter? One question. And in a higher side, like they will ask two questions, one from peer review, one from quality review, right? So 4-mark weightage, and that too visiting chapter, not like bank coming in every exam, right? And then apart from that, we said 1 or 2 questions in the MCQ. And so the weightage used to be like 4 to 6 marks. That is what our analysis used to say. But you know what Institute did in one of the exam? One integrated case scenario of 10 marks, wherein they give the 5 questions of the 2 marks each. The entire integrated case scenario was on the chapter of peer review and quality review. Right? That is what they have done. Right? If you look into the history of the papers of ICAI, right, they have asked the entire integrated case scenario of 10 marks for peer review, quality review. So, can they do the same thing for the digital auditing and assurance also? Yes. Right. So again, like bank audit chapter, in the theory part of the paper, we expect at least 1 question. Because it's new, maybe they might ask 2 questions. But again, I could see more questions on this coming in the MCQ part of the paper also. And no surprise, if I see one 10-mark integrated case scenario entirely on the chapter of the digital auditing and the assurance. Okay, right? So are we good? Let's begin with our discussion of all the headings that we have put down over here. Right, of all the headings that we have put down over here. Okay, right. So starting with the first one, which is the digital audit. Okay. Right, so everyone, so do you at least have the institute study material with you? Because this is exactly from the study material of the ICAI. Right, so first one, what we start over there is the digital audit. That means what? You are doing the audit of the technology. You are auditing the computers which the client is using in the organization. right? So digital audit is placing assurance on the effectiveness of the IT systems implemented in an organization, and technology is becoming an integral part of the day-to-day business operation. And obviously what auditor needs to review is the TRC. What is TRC? The technology related controls, right? The technology related controls. So what is digital audit? When you audit the IT systems, right? The computer, the use of technology in the organization, right? That is the concept of the digital audit. Okay. Now, when you are doing the audit of the technology, that means you're doing the audit of the computer systems of the client. What are the key features of a digital audit? So obviously when I do the audit of technology, the auditee, yes, you will come to know how they have embraced the latest technological advancements, right? So how the latest technological, how the automation is being done, how the manual element is being removed, you'll come to know about that, right? So how the auditee, that means the client, is updating themselves with the latest technological advancements, right? That you will come to know, right? Then also with the latest technological advancements, you will also come to know about the future for a digital strategy and the waves for adopting the new technologies. So what is the latest technological advancements, and then going forward further, what is going to be the digital strategy of the organization, right? So these are two: latest technological developments and also the future for the digital strategy. Next, it says doing a digital audit, it will improve the quality of your opinion. So obviously if your opinion is going to be better, it will lead to a more reliable audit report. And obviously if your report is more reliable, the auditee can make the informed decisions with the help of your report, right? So next 2 points over there is more reliable report, and it will also help the auditee in making the informed decision. Obviously you're doing the audit of the technology. So once I check the computer program 2 plus 2, right, then hundreds of times or n number of times the answer is going to be right. So obviously it is going to lead in saving of time, cost, and the human effort, and it will also allow to standardize the processes, right? And last point, which is a solo point over there, which is the comprehensive overview of the end-to-end technologies and how such technologies have been used. Right, so these are the key features. ICAI, when they ask a question in the exam, they don't want you to beat around the bush. They exactly want these points to be written in the answer. Okay, one, you embrace the latest technological advancements. Then after that, also the future for the digital strategy. Then more reliable audit report. Auditee can make the informed decision, saving of time, cost, and resources, standardizing the processes, and a comprehensive overview. Right, so key features of a digital audit. Then after the key features, they talk about the advantages of digital audit. Okay, what is the benefit of you doing the audit of technology? It says there is a barrel full of advantages. So here the spelling of our barrel is BAREL. Right, so what is the BA over there? It is better audit quality and the better analytics, right? So we have BA and better audit quality, and the better is better analytics. Then after the better audit quality and the better analytics, what is the next? Improved risk assessment, that is R. After the improved risk assessment, we have the E, that is the enhanced efficiency and effectiveness, and last is the lower costs. Right, so what are the advantages of a digital audit? We have a barrel full of the advantages of the digital audit, right? One full barrel of advantages of the digital audit, right? So advantages of DA, and that is the digital audit. What are the advantages? Better audit quality, better analytics. Then after that, you also have the improved risk assessment, then the enhanced efficiency and effectiveness, and it also lower the cost, right? And also lower the cost. So everybody, have you drawn a barrel in your book over there? Right, so like that you draw a barrel, and in the barrel you write down, okay, these are all the advantages of the digital audit, right? The advantages of the digital audit. And then fourth question over there, consideration and challenges of digital audit. Okay, now you know, okay, my client is making use of computer, and I have to do the audit of computer. Digital audit is what? Audit of technology, audit of computers. So obviously if my client is using the computer, first thing I need to understand, okay, what are the benefits which the organization is going to receive from this automation. Then obviously if I have to automate whatever work is being done manually right now, if that work is going to be automated, first we'll have to give the training to the people. Right? So think people first and do not underestimate change is difficult. So if you're having manual accounting and now you're shifting to automated accounting, you have to think of the people. And again, upskilling the people and making them familiar with the new technology is going to be a challenging task. Right. Then so you think about the people. Then after that, it says you also need to think about the right processes, right? This is the key for the successful automation. Or many a times when a new system is implemented, you see so many errors come out. Right? So one, it says what are the benefits, then you think about the people, then you think about the processes. You say we've thought about the people, thought about the processes, now you need to have your strategy and a broader digitization strategy. Okay, slowly say bank says now we have made our loan department automated, now we are making our deposits also in technology, in computer, right? So what is the digitization strategy? Then based on the strategy, accordingly they have to standardize the processes. So they need to have the SOPs, the standard operating procedures. And now all your data you're putting into the computer, so you better be careful about the security, right? So the governance and data security in the risk framework, right? So considerations and the challenges of the digital audit. So you have to think about the business benefits, think about the people, think about the processes. Once you've thought about them, then you need to have your strategy, start standardizing and take care of the security. Right? So everybody, do you understand 1A, 1B, 1C and 1D? 1A, concept. Then 1B, the key features of the digital audit. Then 1C is the advantages and 1D is the considerations and the challenges for digital audit. Okay, right. Then heading number 2 over there, which is regarding the auditing digitally. That means now you're making the use of the computers for doing the audit, right? So what is the concept of auditing digitally? You are using the advancements in technology for conducting an efficient, effective audit. So when you audit the technology, that is digital audit. And when you make use of technology to conduct the audit, that means it is the auditing digitally, right? So advancements in technology to do an efficient and effective audit, right? That is the concept of the auditing digitally. So capturing data, automate the procedures, analyze information, all this, it says, can be done with the help of the computers. Now, obviously, if you want to make use of the computer for doing the audit, obviously you may have to involve the experts. Now for every damn thing, you can't keep on involving the experts. So what you'll have to do, you will have to invest in your people and also invest in the technology. It's okay, you take help of some IT experts because you can't do the auditing digitally. So you take help of experts. But nowadays, computer is inbuilt in any organization. So what does it say? You invest in upskilling your people and you also invest in the technology. Right? Also invest in the technology. Okay. And then it says what you can do now when you're auditing digitally, you can also make use of the advanced technologies. What are the advanced technologies? Like the AI and the drone. And obviously these are going to change the scope of the audit. Right? These are going to evolve the scope of the audit. Right? So what are the expectations from the auditor? That one, if you don't know how to make use of computers for doing the audit, you involve the experts. Then you invest in upskilling your people. You invest in the technology. Then you also use the advanced technology such as the AI and the drone. And then this will evolve the scope of your audit. Right? The expectations from the auditor. That is your 2A. After 2A, you have the 2C. Right? So 2C is a combination of 1B and 1C. Because what does it say? Key features and advantages. There it was key features point 1B and advantages was 1C. Right? But here key features and advantages of auditing digitally, they have combined together. Right? What were the advantages of digital audit? We said that's a barrel full of advantages, right? So here how we can make use of the barrel. First is the improved audit quality, because what does it say? Improved quality of the audit, which we call it as the better audit quality. Right, so better audit quality. Then after that, after the BA, what does it say? It also leads to the improved better risk assessment, right? So that's your R. The improved risk assessment, the better risk assessment, right? Then after the R, you have the E, that is the enhanced efficiency and effectiveness, right? So out of the barrel, what I can use over there, the first B, that is the better audit quality, then the improved risk assessment, then the enhanced efficiency and effectiveness. And apart from that, what are the other points that we have over there? Obviously, if you have better efficiency in doing the audit, it will decrease your human dependency. So obviously, if it decreases human dependency, it will increase the transparency, and all this is happening due to the automation and ease. Right? So no manual checking to be done of depreciation, tax, or royalty interest. It can all be done with the help of the computers. Right? So key features or advantages. What are the key features or advantages of auditing digitally? Right, one, it says the better audit quality, then the improved risk assessment, then the enhanced efficiency and effectiveness, then it decreases the human dependency, it increases the transparency, and it also leads to the automation and the ease. Right, the automation and the ease. Right, so that is your point number 2C, which is regarding the key features and the advantages of auditing digitally. What was question number 2B? Expectations from auditor, that he may have to involve the expert, then invest in people, invest in technology. Also, he may make use of the advanced technology, and that might evolve the scope of the audit. You understand, everyone, what we discuss over here? Okay, right. And then the fourth point over there is the considerations of auditing digitally. So what are the consideration? What problem are you trying to solve? To solve that problem, which technology are you going to use? Now you found out some very high-tech technology, but again, first what you will have to do, you will have to use the upskill your people. So again, you will have to invest in your people, because what does it say? Technology is only as good as the people using it. Training and development are critical to ensure how the team understands why they are using, how and why they are using the technology. Right, so what does it say? What are the considerations and the challenges in auditing digitally? What problem are you trying to solve? For that, what technology are you going to use? Then how you are doing the upskilling of your people to use that new technology. And then last one is the range of automated solutions. So 100% this could be a candidate for retail question in your exams. Okay, now it says when you are doing the auditing digitally, you can make use of a range of automated solution. What is the range of automated solution? One, you can make use of the macros and scripts, right? So rather than you checking every time putting a particular formula, you just run a macro, you record a macro, and the system will keep on doing the work again and again, right? So one is one range of automated business solution, you make use of the macros. Then second, you go for the business process automation. Then you can next go for the robotic process automation. And robotic process automation plus artificial intelligence put together is your intelligent process automation. Right, so combined RPA with artificial intelligence technology is called as the intelligent process automation. So what is the range of automated solutions which you now have? One is the macros and the scripts. Then you have the business process automation. Then you have the robotic process automation. And the last one is the intelligent process automation. Right, intelligent process automation. So that completes our 8 questions over there. Right, 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D. Okay, now we come to understanding the IT environment. Everybody with me? Are you able to follow what we are discussing? Because we don't know which is the questions out of all of this which will come in the exams. Okay, so now understanding the IT environment. So I come to know that my client is no longer doing the recording of the transaction manually. They have a billing system or they have a software for the same. Right, so first thing, when I have to understand the automated environment which is being used at my client place, I have to first understand it, which technology, which applications are they using. So they might be using SAP, they might be using Oracle, or they could have developed an app in-house. So what is the application being used? Okay. Now, obviously, when you go for automation, it leads to changes in two things. One, it will change your infrastructure, and second, it will change your organization structure. Like, 20 years before, there was no uncle in an organization called a chief information officer or a chief information security officer. But today, do we have somebody called as the CIO and the CISO also? Yes. Then we also have to consider the hardware, software, and so while doing the IT, understanding the IT environment. So it says you have to consider the infrastructure and the organization structure. So first thing I have to understand what is the app that is being used. Then after the app, I understand the two structure. After those two structures, I understand the policies, procedures, and the processes. Then I look into the IT integration and if they have used the work of a service organization, and after that, what are the IT risks and control. So like, if you go to your banking app, right, through your banking app, can you, make a payment over there? Yes. Can you open an FD? Yes. Then can you add a pay or, send a checkbook request over there? Yes. Can you apply for a loan, invest in mutual fund? Yes. So many of the activities all integrated into one app of the bank. You understand, right? So another example of a, what you say, a consolidator app, an aggregator app could be the Tata New, wherein all the Tata products, all the Tata services have been put together into that one app. Right? So that is the app. Then for that app, what is the infrastructure? What is the organization structure? Then what are the policies, procedures, and the processes? Then what is the IT integration? And last one is the IT risks and controls, right? So once you understand this automated environment, next what you need to do, you have to document. Okay, what is the app? How it is, for what is being used? What is the database, operating system, network, and the server and storage, right? So that is understanding and documenting the or IT environment. Once you understand and document the IT environment, now they talk about the key areas that an auditor has to understand in the IT environment. So number one, now in the automated environment or in the IT environment, I have to understand, okay, what is the transaction which is being processed by the computer? Like if you place an order on Myntra, so your order, your purchase order, whatever you've placed order for, that is the transaction. Right now, obviously, this transaction being processed on the Myntra app, obviously there is an entire system. What is the system? You first have to select the product, then add it to your cart. Then after that, they see whether it has, it's still in stock or it is out of stock, whether the price has increased, the offer is there or not. So that's the entire system. Then in the system also, what do they have? They have a lot of controls. They have a lot of the controls, and obviously these controls are not manual. All these controls are automated. So there is a lot of technology which is being used for these control, and obviously all the transactions are being processed in the system with the help of the computer. So they have a lot of control. Those controls are automated. There is technology. So certainly the IT environment is going to be very, very complex. So you have to assess the complexity of the IT environment, right? So that's the question for the key areas for an auditor to understand the IT environment. Right? I told you exam, half of your life is sorted if you're able to identify the correct question. If they ask you understanding the IT environment, you write down the points above. If they ask you key areas for an auditor to understand the IT environment, then first you have to understand the flow of the transaction, then the transaction, how it is processed within the system, then in the system, what are the manual and the automated controls. Then these controls, obviously they are making use of the technologies, and if they are making use of the technologies, obviously it will affect the complexity of the IT environment. Do you understand that? Right? It will affect the complexity of the IT environment. Right? So these are the key areas for an auditor to understand the IT environment. What is the transaction? What is the system? What are the controls? What is the technology? And what is the complexity? Right? And what is the complexity? Okay. Don't go behind these words like, if you remember TSC, TC. You remember TSC, TC, and so many such abbreviations, but life becomes very creative, wherein you have to, think, oh, what does that T stand for? Right, or what does this S stand for? And you write security, and then C, you write down some different point over there. Right, so that is why focus more on developing a flow. Okay, in the IT, I have to understand what are the transactions. Then for processing those transactions, what is the system? Then in the system, what are the controls? Then these controls, how much are they impacted by technology? And how much is the technology impacting the complexity of the IT environment? Okay, never be under the false notion. Don't cheat yourself by thinking, oh, key areas for the understanding of the IT environment, I should know the transaction, I should know the system. Then in the system, I should know the controls. In the controls, I have to know the technology, and depending on the technology, I have to know the complexity. No, this is first step. I don't deny that this is the first thing that you need to know. Okay, but second step, what you need to know is the enough content to write in front of each of this heading. Okay, transaction, but what about the transaction? You cannot cook a story. It's not an essay writing where some transaction is told and then you write something on your own. Rather, you may write on your own. That might be more correct, but that is what the examiner doesn't want. They have simple expectation. Okay, this is written in the model test paper answer of the ICAI, and this is what is written in your answer sheet. If it tallies word by word, they give you mark, otherwise they don't give. Simple. You consider them ruthless, you consider them very objective, whatever it be, but that's how it is. Right? They give you marks simply if it tallies. Right? With the model test answer of the ICAI. So you know the key points. Then after that, you know the elaborated content for each one of them. But again, third thing, you have to work on your time management. You have to work on your presentation, right? So again, that aspect is required to be taken care of. And you can't go beating around the drum everywhere. Oh, I know key areas. You know nothing. You tell me what you know only after you show me the 50 marks in each subject. Till that time, don't beat the drum, don't make any noise. You understand? No, let your result make the noise. You don't say, oh, I know this. You know nothing. You show me 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. Anything more, no problem. Anything less, big problem. You understand, ma'am? I was thinking I'll get 70, but you are saying only 50. Get 80, get 95. What's the problem? Problem is with anything coming less than the economic order quantity. The minimum order quantity. This is minimum. You want to have excess stock, you want to get more marks, no problem, you get it. Then they say, no, ma'am, my plan is, okay, accounts, I like it a lot, so 70 I'll get in accounts. Then FM also, ma'am, I'm very good. So, I'm planning to get 60 in FM. And then audit, ma'am, stepmotherly, but just because there is no option, so 40. Okay, and so this is the plan which you go to, and then you are planning 70 marks. And some students, they write, this time what I'm doing, only one subject I have prepared properly, other two I'm just writing, but that one subject I'll get exemption. So that next attempt I'll have to write only two subjects over there. And with all these great hopes, like the Mount Kailash, okay, such Everest, such big hopes you've built and gone into the exam hall. And then you see the question number 1 and the adjustments of consolidation. And you start thinking about the FM paper. Right? And then FM paper, and then you say, oh my God, what formulas, what question they are asking. Then you start remembering SA 705, modification to opinion, key audit matter. So, you cannot decide who will be the hero and who will be the villain. Right, in the exam. And sometimes ideally it's expected there should be only one villain, but sometimes you see 2 villains or all are villains in the paper. They say, no, now FR has come difficult, no, so FM will come easy. Some analysis they will make. It is just your lack of preparation for the subject or for the exams as such. It's just because you're looking for a last minute Maggie recipe, 2 minutes. 2 minutes you want to cook the food, and you've not burnt the midnight oil in the month of February, March when your attempt is in May, and in the month of August, September when your attempt is in November. Right now, when the entire people are thinking, 3 months away or 2 months away or still time. No, Later on, things are going to get, hurried up. There is going to be pressure created. There are a lot of unforeseen circumstances and challenges which might come. So right now, when things are stabilized, you please make the maximum capacity, utilization of that time. Okay, right. So what are we talking about over here is the key areas for an auditor to understand the IT environment. Okay, so that is my point number 3, IT environment and the key areas for the IT environment. Then after the IT environment, now I talk about the IT risk. And after the IT risk, I'm going to talk about the IT dependencies, and then I'm going to talk about the controls. Okay, so now IT risk, again this was there in your old syllabus also, so very super favorite question of the ICAI. And what are the IT risks that you have in case of the use of computers? It says the IT risks which are there in the use of the computers. Yes, you have FLUID and then the PCR. Right? These are the IT risks. What are the IT risks that you have over there? 1, the failure to make the necessary changes. Did I tell you this? That when your system was designed, the rate of GST was 12, but now GST rate has become 18, but you did not make the change in your system. Right, then what does it say? Loss of data or inability to access data as required. You don't know, you say, ma'am, I had stored the file, don't know where it went. Loss of data or inability to access data as required. Another big problem with the use of computer, IT risks. And what we are talking about over here, biggest $1 million problem with the computer is the hacking, the unauthorized access, the unauthorized changes to the data and to the computer program. Right? Unauthorized access and changes. We can elaborate on this point. What does it say? Unauthorized access, unauthorized changes to what? To data or to the computer program. So either you have the unauthorized access to data computer program, and then with the unauthorized access you do the unauthorized changes to the data computer program. That is rate of depreciation 20%, 25%. What you do, add a point between those rates. Right? Then the salary of all your friends, what you do, you add a 0 in front of their salaries. Right? So what are you doing? Unauthorized changes to data, unauthorized changes to program. Right? So that is one big problem with the computers. Okay, you are making the unauthorized changes. Another one, what you are doing, you are recording the non-existent transaction. Right? So no revaluation of assets took place, no impairment, but sitting, what to do? Revalue. Right? So recording non-existent transactions. Second, the transactions have existed, but you are recording them in an inaccurate manner. So what are you doing in this case? You are doing the inaccurate recording of the transaction. It was a purchase entry. You recorded it as a sales entry. It was a revenue expenditure. You recorded it as a capital expenditure. Right? So one, you record a transaction which does not exist. Second, you record a transaction which exists, but you do the inaccurate recording of the transaction. So that is the unauthorized access. Okay. Then I over there is the inappropriate manual intervention. You cannot entirely leave your organization on the trust of the computers. There has to be some element of the manual intervention. So if there is no manual intervention, that is again an IT risks. And then sometimes you see the banking app or something, you're trying to do some transaction, but your transaction is just not getting processed. Or, on the income tax website, you're trying to pay some TDS, advanced tax or so, and it's not getting processed. Right? So that means what? The system is going through a downtime. Right? So there could be system downtime. Right. Then again, with the help of computers, what could happen? There could be the performance issues, right? There could be the performance issues that you didn't have the goods in stock, but still you accepted the order. Right? So there could be the performance issues. Then also with the use of computers, you have the compatibility risks. Like, for your depreciation, you have one software. For tax calculation, you have another software. For payroll calculation, you have one more software. Now, all these software you put together, they are not compatible with each other. You understand? For different work, you got the different softwares. But now if I try to integrate these softwares together, it's not happening. Right? So there could be the compatibility risk, and always there is the risk of the regulatory compliance. You have to learn this by heart, and after you learn it by heart, you have to do the writing practice, right? So first what you have to do, you have to put it in your heart, and after you put it in your heart, next you have to do the writing practice. Right? So you have to learn it by heart, and then you have to do the writing practice. So that is IT risk, fluid PCR. You understand that? Right? The fluid PCR, right? So that is the IT risks, right? IT risk. Then after the IT risk, we talk about the IT dependencies. After the IT risk, what is the next thing that we talk about over there is the IT dependencies. Okay, so like, you know, if you are going on a two-wheeler, right? So mainly the girls, when they are going on the two-wheeler, if you see that lot in Pune, you understand, no? So when they are going on the two-wheeler, they want to protect themselves from the sun and wind and everything. That is why, like Bandit Queen, you know, right, they will tie the scarf over there. So just as to protect yourself from the wind, you put the scarf. Here also for the IT and IT dependencies, it is the scarf, right? So what does it say? Can now see, if I am doing an online payment, that is, I am paying my GST liability online, so obviously I'm putting my bank account details online, right? So obviously I'm dependent on the computer for the security of my data, right? Then after that, say if I'm doing any online purchases, then whatever calculation, I purchase 3 products, taking the total of that 3 products, obviously that is also being done by the computers. Like, see, if I place an order on Myntra for 3 products, who takes the total of my bag? It's the computer. So for the calculations, you are dependent on the computer. Then whether those products are in stock or not, that is automatically checked by the computers, right? So that is again the automation, right? Then if you want your bank statement of last 1 month, you understand, no? You go to your banking app and you say you want your bank statement from 1st Jan to 31st Jan, and then it gives you the report. Obviously, how do you believe that this report is reliable? You're dependent on the IT, the information technology over there. And the last but not the least is the interfaces within the system. So I told you, no, your FD, your mutual fund, your savings account, all of that are put together. Your provident fund, all of that has been linked together in the banking app, right? So that is the interfaces within the system, right? So these are the 5 types of the IT dependencies in the IT environment. Yes, everyone, tell me what are the 5. Yes, so this question number 4 I've already discussed with you. This is fluid. Yes, FLUID PCR, right? Then after the fluid PCR, what is the next question we have over there is the IT dependencies. And what are the IT dependencies? For security, calculation, then for the automated controls, the reports, and then also the interfaces within the system, we are dependent on the computers. Okay, now that we are so dependent on the computers for all of this, so now in the computer system there have to be certain controls, right? So what controls have to be there? One is the access security control, that who is having access to the computer system, then who can make the changes to the program, right? So the program change control, and last one is the data center and the network operation control, right? So now, because you are dependent on IT, what controls should be there in the IT environment? What is the first control that they talk about over there is the access security, right? So what do we say? One big problem with the computer is there, if there is the unauthorized access or changes to data computer program. Do we want this unauthorized access to happen? No. So that is why we have the access security control, that access to programs and data is authenticated and authorized to meet the financial reporting objectives, right? So who will have the access to the system? Like, as simple as you want to access your Gmail account, so first you put your email ID, then you put your password, and say you're logging into your Gmail account from a different device, remote device. So then what it will do, it will send a notification on your YouTube, and then it will say, you know, you open your YouTube app and there it comes, yes, it's me, your Gmail account is being tried to be accessed through some other source. And then after that it says we have sent this particular number, say 12, And then on your YouTube, you'll see 3 numbers over there, 12, 80, and 71. So out of that, you have to select the correct number 12. And then after that, your Gmail account gets opened. You understand? So obviously, what is that an example of? The access security control. To the extent possible, they want to ensure that whether it's the authentic user, right, who is you accessing that particular account, right? So access security control. Then access of terminated user is removed. So say if an employee leaves the organization, then obviously his user ID should be disabled. Then access rights to be applications are periodically monitored for the appropriateness. Then also the generic IDs are monitored. So whatever IDs of the is what you say sensitive information or so, security policies and the access to operating system and database. Right. How MCQs become complicated with ICAI? Okay, which of the following activities is not a part of access security control? Are you listening to me? Which of the following is not a part of access security control? A, access request to the application. B, access of the terminated user. C is the access rights to the application. And D is the development and the testing and production environment are segregated. So obviously, which of the following is not an activity covered under access security? It is D. Why? Because it is coming under the program change. It is not a part of the access security control. Another way they ask a question to ensure that modified system continue to meet the financial reporting objective is the objective of which type of controls? So again, they have access security, program change, data center and network operation, and some general IT controls. Right? So obviously, it is the program change. Right? So that is where, for the preparation of MCQs, you have to do a different level, of the understanding of the concept over there. Okay, so that's the second one. What is the second one? Program change. Okay, say earlier a particular product on Myntra, 40% discount was there. Now they are going through some end of reason sale or something. So that is why from 40% the discount has been increased to say 60%. So obviously who can make that change in the app of Myntra, right? So change management policy, then development, testing and production environment, then changes are adequately tracked, then changes to applications are tested and approved, then emergency changes and segregation of duties between developer and implementer, right? So that's the program change. And then the third one you have over there is the data center and the network operation, right? You imagine the amount of data which is there in Instagram or Amazon or YouTube or so, right? So how that entire data is managed, right? So it says data backup and recovery, right? After once it is backed up, the data, whether that data which is backed up, is it recoverable, right? Then the restoration, that is, you delete your Myntra app from your old mobile, and then you again, install it in your new mobile and again put your registered email ID. So whatever items were there in your cart, in your old app, the same continue to come in the new app. So what is that? Restoration testing is performed. Then service level agreement, if any outsourcing has been done, and batch shop scheduled are monitored, right? So where the maintenance of the system is done, right? So what are the controls? Access security, program change, data center, and the network operation controls. Okay, right? So that is the IT risks, IT dependencies, and the IT control. Now the next discussion that we come to over there is regarding the cyber risk. And in the cyber risk, right, you remember we made a B, C, D over here today, right? So what was the G in that? Right, G was for gaining unauthorized access. Rather, this was there in a IT risk also, FLU. So U was for unauthorized access to data computer program. Okay, right. So what is the definition of cyber risk or the cyber attack? It says when any person, individual, is trying to gain the unauthorized access to the data, to the computer program. And what are they going to do with the unauthorized access? They're going to steal, expose, alter, damage, destroy, or disable. Right? So what they will do when they will get the access to the data, they might steal the data or just, post the data on the public platform, expose the data, alter the data. So change customer credit limit or so, or disable, destroy, or damage the data. Right? So this is the cyber attack. What is the meaning of cyber attack? It is gaining the unauthorized access to system or network with the intent to SEAT, D. What is S? Steal, then expose, alter, and then damage, disable, or destroy. What? The data. Right? So gaining unauthorized access in order to steal, expose, alter, damage, destroy, disable the data. Don't write anything on your own. You understand? That is cyber risk. Gaining the unauthorized access. Right? So just as how I told you, heart is attacked. Here what is attacked is the data of the company. Right? The computer systems of the company are getting attacked. Okay. And then you have the most common types of the cyber attack. Yes. Next question over there, which is going to be a hot selling topic for the MCQs in the exam, is going to be the most common types of the cyber attacks, right? So what are the most common types of the cyber attacks, right? So what are the common types of the cyber attacks that they are talking over there? DDIIIMPS, right? So DIMS, right? So these are the types of the cyber attack, right? So what is the first one over there? Denial of service attack. Right? Everyone, please pay attention. The moment you talk, that question comes in the exam. Right? Denial of service attack. Then you have the DNS tunneling. Right? The DNS tunneling. Right? Then after that, you have the insider threats. The insider threats. Okay. Right. Then you have the IoT based attacks. That is the non-living thing takes the control of you. Right, the Internet of Things based attacks. Next one is the identity based attacks. You think, oh, RBI is asking me for information, and you provide the data. Right, so identity based attacks. Then you have the malware. Then after the malware, you have the phishing. Right, and after the phishing, you have the spoofing. Right, the spoofing. Right, so these are the types of the most common types of the cyber attack. Okay, now under the malware, you have the ransomware. Right, under like you have Tupperware. No, now here they have their own ware and a malware. Right, then that they have the ransomware. Right, then after the ransomware, they have the fileless malware. Right, then after the fileless malware, they have the Trojan. The Trojan horse. Trojan, and then you have the mobile malware. Yes, mobile malware. Okay, and then you have phishing. In phishing, you have spear phishing. In phishing, first phishing is the spear phishing. Then after spear phishing, you have the whaling. Then after whaling, you have the smishing. And after the smishing, you have the wishing. Okay, my God. What all you have to study in life to become a CA? You understand? Okay. And then you have the spoofing. Spoofing is two spoofing. The email spoofing and the domain spoofing. Okay. Right. So now let's try to understand each one of them. You understand? Even though if you listen to the names itself, that looks like an achievement. Okay, but now exams, so I told you, four lines and it becomes a case study or some MCQ question in the exam. They say this is the type of attack which has been done. They give an example and they say what is the type of attack which has been done on the computer, and they give you four options: whaling, ransomware, right? Ransomware, then the DNS tunneling. Right, DNS tunneling, and then the email spoofing. Whichever god you pray to, unless and until you've studied and gone, you cannot think of the answer. Right, you cannot get the correct answer. They give you some attack, some kind of situation of an attack, and they say which is the type of attack which has happened on the computers, and then you have to select the correct option over there. Okay, right. So now let's try to understand each of these attacks one by one. Okay, right. So the first one is the denial of service attack. That means what? Unnecessarily. Unnecessarily, there is lot of jam or lot of people who are accessing the system. Actually, they are not causing any harm to the system, but only they are reducing the performance efficiency of the system. Right? So that is denial of service attack. Okay? People who want to access the system, who have the work, they are not able to do the work because so many people who don't have the work, even they are using the system. Right? So as such, it says it doesn't cause any harm to the organization apart from the performance issues. Right? Apart from the performance issues. Then DNS tunneling. Right? DNS tunneling, what does it say? You think that you are putting your data on the website of income tax, or you think that you're putting your website on the RBI website, or ICICI Bank or HDFC website. But all that data which you think you are putting in an authentic source, actually all your sensitive data, all your credit card, debit card details are being tunneled into. They are going into some other website, and some other person is getting the access to your privacy, to your sensitive IT data over there. Right? So that's a tunnel is being created. So you think as if you're communicating the information on an authentic source, but all that information is being diverted to another source. Right? That is the DNS tunneling. Then insider threat. Insider threat, that your current or former employees, they know everything about your organization and they are hacking the computer. So that is insider threat. Then IoT based attacks. Okay, you are telling the driverless car that take left. It says, no, I'm going to take right. Right? So that is the computer is taking the control, right, regarding how the transaction or how the device is to work. That is the Internet of Things based attacks. Then identity based attack. Identity based attacks wherein you think that, oh, you have received the mail from an authentic source, but actually it's not an authentic source, right? So that's the identity based attack. A fourth sender appears to be like a genuine sender. Right? You think that the data has come from a genuine source, right? So that's the identity-based attack. Malware. In malware, the most common one over there is the ransomware, wherein what does the person do? The particular person, the hacker, he encrypts your data, right? So like I want to access my computer, but somebody has locked my computer. So that means there is a ransomware which has been entered. And obviously, if it has been encrypted, now I want it to be decrypted. So it says now the hacker says that, okay, we will decrypt the data for you, but you first have to make us a payment for the same. So your own data, they are encrypting, and now for decrypting it, they are asking you for a payment, right? So that's the concept of the ransomware, right? Ransomware, it says at least some installation of some software has to be done for getting the access for encryption of data. But fileless malware, it says within the IT system only, the data could be encrypted. So there is no external app or any data which is being installed, right? Then Trojan is again the adversary, right? The data being affected, corrupted. And then mobile malware, wherein it is targeting the mobile devices, right? Wherein the target is on the mobile devices. Okay, right. Then you have the phishing. In the phishing, where the spear phishing, wherein it says the malicious mails. Okay, you have received what you say, won a lottery of 1 lakh GBP, then some pounds or something, or you have claim your lottery amount or something, right? So that's the malicious mails. Right. If these malicious mails are sent in such a manner to target the C-level executives, that is all your CEO, CFO, all the C-level executive, then those malicious mails are referred to as the whaling. Right? Specifically, those mails are targeted to the high-level employees in your organization. Then that same spear phishing becomes the whaling. Right. In phishing, what is sent is the email. In smishing, what is sent is the SMS, right? The messages, right? And in wishing, it is the voice call, right? So you send the voice calls, right? So that is the, you receive a call saying that you have earned an amount, or you get a message on your phone that you've earned an amount of so much. Or if you get a mail, if you get a mail, then that's the spear phishing. If the mail is given to the high-level employees, then it is the whaling. If you get a message saying that you have won, then it is smishing. And if you get a voice message or a call, right, then that is called as the phishing. Okay, right. And the last one over there is the spoofing, right? So email spoofing, wherein you think that, oh, you've received the email from RBI and you provide all the data, or you've received the mail from your bank and you provide the data. So actually, it's an unauthorized email address which looks like an authentic email address. And domain spoofing, you think that you are putting on the original website of the income tax department, but you're putting the data on some fake website, right? So that is either the email is being spoofed or the domain is being spoofed, right? So it is not the authentic one, but you think that it is the authentic one, and you put your data over there, or you reply to that email, or you do your transaction on that domain. Right? So these are the types of the cyber attack, right? So what is the first one they talk about? Malware. In malware, you have the ransomware, right? So encrypts the victim data. Then the fileless malware, right? So malicious activity with the tools which are built into the system. Right, so it says there is no need to install any code on the target system, because in ransomware you have to install some code, but here it says for fileless, inbuilt in the system only the attack can be done. Right, then Trojan that appears to be a legitimate software and you keep on downloading those files or so. Right, so that is the Trojan. And then the mobile malware, which is targeting the mobile devices. Right, then you have the denial of service attacks. What does it say? Unnecessary, too many people are crowding the system, so because of which you're unable to perform your routine necessary tasks. So as such, it does not result in any loss of data, but only the problem with this is it compromises on the performance. Right, it compromises on the performance. Right, then you have the phishing, which is the social engineering technique. Right, so what does it say? When the mails are sent, malicious mails are being sent, that is spear phishing. In this, the mails are sent to the senior or the C-level executive, then sending the text messages, considering them to be from a reputable company, and phone calls and voice messages, that is your phishing. Right, then spoofing, you have disguised themselves as a known or a trusted source. So you think that, oh, this is the ICI original website, or you think this is the mail received from RBI. Right, so it could be the domain spoofing or the email spoofing. Then identity-based attacks. Right, so user credentials have been compromised and an adversary is pretending to be that user. Right, so what happens? Somebody gets hold of your credit card and your mobile phone. Right, and then that person is doing the transactions from your credit card. Right, so actually, obviously, that person who has stolen your credit card and doing the transaction, the bank will think that you are the person doing the transaction, but actually it's not you, it is somebody else who is doing it in your name. So that's the identity based attack. Right, then insider threats are by the current or the former employees. Then DNS tunneling, where the data, right, extract data and other sensitive information, it is bypassing the traditional measures and the data is going away from the system. And then the IoT based attacks, where the computer attacks takes the control over the computers. Right, so where the computer is taking the access and not the human being. Right, so this is a big candidate for the MCQs in your exam. What is that? What are the types of the cyber attack? Right, then after the types of cyber attack, we have the next discussion over there of the stages of the cyber risk. Right, so what are the stages? First, you have to assess the cyber risk. Once you assess the cyber risk, next you have to consider what is the impact of the cyber risk. This is the question in your test, your understanding. Right, and once you know what will be the impact, you have to manage the cyber risk. Right, so what are the stages of cyber risk? Aim. What is the aim? Assess, impact, and manage. Right, so what happened? Some attack happened on your computer system. So obviously, if the attack happened, what you will have to do, may have to pay the fines, penalties, and it may also lead to regulatory costs as well as the incident response cost. Right, so some cyber attacks, say employee data got leaked or customer data got leaked. So obviously company will have to pay the fines and penalties. That is nothing but the regulatory cost. And they have to prevent this, this should not happen in the future again. So obviously for that, they will have the incident response cost, right? So this is the monetary loss. Then apart from that, what is the non-monetary loss? It leads to business interruption. Also, it leads to data loss, reputational loss, and the litigation, and it could also be the ransomware. Right, so they have asked a retail question for this one in your test your understanding part. Right, so impact of the cyber risk. So one, there could be some monetary cost and some there could be some non-monetary loss. What is the monetary loss? Regulatory costs, fines and penalties, incident response cost. And what is the non-monetary? The data loss, right? Then the business interruption, right? The ransomware and so on. Okay. And then once you come to know what is the impact, then you manage the cyber risks, right? Then you talk about the cyber security framework, right? So cyber security framework, what is the first thing? You have to identify the risk. Then what you have to take steps to prevent this from happening. So you protect your system. So that is why Gmail, they have a risk that unauthorized person might access your Gmail account. That is why they put these so many of the controls. So what are they doing? Trying to protect. Then in spite of the best possible controls that are put, still there might be some hacking which might happen. So if the hacking happens, now they have to detect, right? Now they have to detect, and once it is detected, they have to respond, and once they respond, then later they have to recover. Okay, going forward, this should not happen again. Right, so these are the stages of the cyber security framework. What are the points in the stages of cyber risk? Aim, assess, impact, and manage. Now we are talking about the cyber security framework, in which you first have to identify the risk, then protect yourselves in spite of that. If it happens, detect. If it once detected, then respond and then recover. Okay, right. So that is the cyber security framework, right? That's the cyber security framework. And then after the cyber security framework, we talk about the controls. So again, you can read this case study. It's a social engineering phishing attack which has taken place. And then the controls over the vendor setup, controls over the electronic transfer of the funds, and the controls around the patch management. And a very important discussion over there now is regarding the remote audit. You understand, no? What heading I am discussing with you is the cyber risk, right? What heading? So we've completed with heading 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, then also completed with 5, cyber risks and attack, right? Then also the controls, the cyber risk type, stages, and the cyber security framework. Now we are talking about the remote audit, right? So remote audit, one, what does it say? The meaning of remote audit and the considerations for the remote audit. And then you have the advantages and the disadvantages. So this is the question in your test, your knowledge, and the advantages and disadvantages of the remote audit, right? So remote audit is also called as the virtual audit. Obviously, this concept of remote audit got boosted during the COVID times, and an earlier acceptance of the concept of the remote audit, right? So what does it say? When the auditor uses the online or the electronic means to conduct the audit, right? So remote audit is what? When the auditor uses the online or the electronic means to conduct the audit, right? So in the word remote, you see the online and the electronic, right, means to conduct the audit. That is the concept of the remote audit. Okay, you don't visit the client premises, sitting at your own home as sitting at the CA office, you conduct the audit, right? So online or the electronic means to conduct the audit. Obviously, first what you have to consider is the whether it is possible, considerations for the remote audit. So one is the feasibility and the planning. If we don't come face to face to meet the client, then whether we can do the meetings on Zoom, Microsoft, Google Meet or so. So feasibility and planning. So you say, yes, it is feasible to do a remote audit. No need for me to visit the client premises. But next, what care has to be taken is of the confidentiality, security, and the data protection. And finally, it says even if it's a remote audit, you have to do the be more careful when you're doing the risk assessment, right? Risk assessment. Okay, right? So what are the considerations for the remote audit? One is the feasibility and planning, then the confidentiality, security, and the data protection, and then the risk assessment. Now, when I read the heading remote audit and I come to know that there are these 3 questions over there, then first is meaning, then considerations, then the advantages and the disadvantages. What looks like more of a higher chance of a question coming in the exam is the advantages of remote audit. This is what we normally think. Okay, out of remote audit, big chance that they may ask a question on the advantages. But I see AI is very good in asking question on the unsung heroes, whom you think about, oh, why they'll ask this question when advantages are sitting over there, why they should ask disadvantages and the consideration, and that's what they exactly do. Right? So considerations for remote audit, you have to think about the feasibility and planning, confidentiality, security, and the data protection, and then also the risk assessment. Okay, right. Now we talk about the remote audit. So what you're telling client, I will not come to your premises, I will sit at my office and I will do the audit. Right? So one, what does it say? What are the advantages of doing this remote audit? R raised to 10. Right, important one. But certainly they can also ask the considerations. Okay, so now you say you're trying to convince the client, why you want me to come every day? I sit at my place and I do the audit for you. So obviously, what would be the advantages of doing such an audit? One, it is going to be cost and time effective, and second, there is going to be a lot of comfort and flexibility. Right, so one, cost effective and cost and time effective, and second, along with the effectiveness, it also leads to the comfort and the flexibility. Okay, then if I go to the client, I say, client, give me the data, then client gives me the data. Now when I'm doing remote audit, client gives me a guest user ID password for their system. So with that guest user ID password, I can't make any changes, but whatever data I need from the system, I can get the direct access of the data. Right, I can get the direct access of the data without any client intervention in between. Okay, then when I'm going for a face-to-face audit, like, actually visiting the client place, I can go for 8 days, 10 days, or for a particular period of time. But if I'm doing a remote audit, I can do the audit for 6 months also. Right, so what does it say? Rather, you could think of this as a disadvantage also, but it's an advantage. Okay, time required to gather evidence can spread over the several weeks instead of concentrated into a small period that takes personnel away from their daily activities. Right, so it can be conducted over several weeks. Because anyways, you're doing, like, when you are doing face-to-face class, 30 days batch, you have to finish it in 30 days. You purchase Google Drive, pen drive, 6 months validity. And then, for 6 months, they don't activate only. Then they call up. Oh, I purchased. Then they tell some reason. Oh my God. Okay. Right. So what is that? The several weeks. And then what does it say? If it's a face-to-face audit, then again, what does it say? You have to seek if is it practicable to send CAs from the Mumbai office, Hyderabad office or so. But in case if it's a remote audit, then you can tell your CAs who are there in Hong Kong, Australia, Japan, China, America, all of them to provide their expertise in doing the audit. So obviously it leads to a wider selection of auditors from a global network of the experts. Right, from the global network of the experts, right? So these are the only 5. Don't write anything on your own. These are the only 5 advantages of the remote audit. Pehle to it is cost and time effective. In spite of it being effective, there is comfort and flexibility. Then you have the direct access. Then you can keep on doing the audit for several weeks, and you can select the auditors from a global network of the experts. Right, from the global network of the experts. You understand that? Okay, right. That is the advantages. And obviously after the advantages, we have the disadvantages. They say, client, no problem. I don't come to your office. We meet on Google. We meet on Zoom or something like that. But meeting on Google and Zoom, what is one problem? Network issue. Second, what is the other problem? That you are not able to visualize the culture of the organization and the body language of the auditing. Right, so one, what does it say? There is network issue. Second, there could be the cultural issue. Third, there is the time zone issue. And we said you can select the auditors from the global network of experts. So you tell that American CA, American auditor, you do the audit. Now every time that American CA, that Indian client is waking up at 12 o'clock in the night. Right, so there is going to be these time zone issues. So number 1 issue is network. Second, culture. Then time zone. Right, so network, culture and time zone. Right, so network, then the culture, and then the time zone issues. Okay, right. Then after that, what does it say? Okay, we said that we can get the direct access to the data. But what does it say? Remote access to data may not be allowed. Right, so remote access to data may not be allowed. Why? Because there could be security and confidentiality violation, and the opportunity to present doctored documents. What is doctored? Tampered. Making the unauthorized changes or omit relevant information is also increased. Right, so remote access may not be allowed. So remote audit, you need remote access. It says remote access may not be given. Why? Because of the security and confidentiality violation. Then even if client gives you the data, they might give you the doctored documents. They may call for additional planning, additional different audit procedure. And also there are the security aspects and privacy needs to be assessed. Right, so what does the first 3 point? Network issue, culture issue and time issue. Then after that you have the remote access issue, then the confidentiality, security violation and the doctored documents. Right, doctored documents, or the client may not give you the information. And apart from that, what does it say? There is a cultural challenge. right? Because you are coming from another country to do the audit and your client is in another country, so there could be the cultural challenges. Then the CA may not have the knowledge of the local laws, and then physical verification of assets and stock taking and all of that cannot be performed, right? So physical verification, stock taking cannot be performed, right? So these are the disadvantages, right? So there is a complete different set of points for advantages, disadvantages. They've given it in the institute study material like a comparative chart like this, but it has no correlation over there, right? One, what you have is the advantages. What are the advantages? C case, right? And then after the advantages you have the disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? Three issues first. What are the three issues? Network issue, then the cultural issues, and then the time zone issues. Then after that, remote access may not be provided. It can lead to security confidentiality violation. Then one, client is not giving data. Second, they are giving the data, but they are giving the doctored documents, right? So there are also, yes, they're giving the doctored documents and also the privacy security of the data. And then what are the last 3 points over there? One is the cultural issues, where you cannot come to know the background, but here they talk about the cultural challenges. Then you don't have the knowledge of the local laws and regulations, and no knowledge of local laws and regulation, and physical verification of assets and stock taking cannot be conducted. Right, so these are the disadvantages of the remote audit, right? So you have the advantages, and then after that also the disadvantages of the remote audit. Okay, if I come to the RTP May 24, right, there is one question over there. Wait. Yeah, yes, which of the following, right? So not in the RTP, but in the integrated case scenario, which of the following is false in an audit described at para E? So in para E, what they are describing over there is the remote audit, and which of the following is false? So three are true and one is false. So you need to tell me which is the one. The opportunity to present doctored documents and omit relevant information is decreased. Is that opportunity decreased or increased in case of remote audit? Obviously, it is increased. So obviously, the first statement is false. Remote access to IT information may not be allowed. True. Comfort and flexibility to the audit team. True. Time zone issues could affect the efficiency of audit. True. So what is only false is the first one. Right? The opportunity to present doctored documents and omit relevant information is decreased. No, it is not decreased. It is increased, right? That risk is increased over there. Okay, right? So that is your cyber risks and the remote audit, right? That is our discussion on the cyber risks and the remote audit, right? Then after the cyber risks and remote audit, we have the heading number 6, which is regarding the emerging technologies in the audit. And what are the emerging technologies in audit that they are talking about is the data analytic techniques. The most is wonderful definition of the data analytic techniques over here. It says is the process of converting raw system data into meaningful information using processes, tools and techniques is referred to as data analytics. So you get the dump of the data of the company. At the dump of the data, say you put different filters on that in Excel, and then from the data you are able to get the information. This process of generating meaningful information from raw system data using processes, tools and techniques is referred to as the data analytics. So what you get from the computer system is the raw data. From that data you prepare different charts and graphs and different tables. Through that you are able to get the meaningful information. So this process of generating the meaningful information from the raw system data using the processes, tools, and techniques is referred to as the data analytics. And the data analytics which are used in an audit are called as the computer assisted audit techniques. And what are the four computer assisted audit techniques that they are talking about? Audit command language, then the Alteryx, then after that the Power BI, and then you have the caseware, right? Excel, how many rows in Excel? Some 10 lakh rows, if I'm not wrong, right? So some 10 lakh rows. But the volume of data which is there in an organization goes into like crores and crores of rows. Right? So there are certain shortcomings in Excel of how much data you can process or, do the formatting in Excel. So due to the shortcomings of Excel, there is another high-tech audit tool which is available, which is called as the audit command language, right? So that is what they mention over here. Okay, due to the shortcomings of the Excel, because there is a limit of how much data you can analyze in the Excel, and beyond the capacity of the Excel and beyond performing the basic functions like count, sum, pivot, and all of that, next level you go to the ACL, right? So audit command language, right, wherein you put the entire dump of the data and you can analyze the data in a more high-tech manner, right? So that's the first one, the audit command language. Then higher to the audit command language, this is the data extraction and analysis software. Now after the data extraction and analysis, now if you want to consolidate the data, then that can be done with the help of the Alteryx, right, in which you have the automated analysis and the machine learning, right, to search for patterns indicative of fraud or irregularity, speed up, right? So again, your risk assessment can be done with the help of the Alteryx, right? The risk assessment can be done with the help of the Alteryx, right? So extracting data and analyzing the data, ACL, right? Then what you say, further consolidation of the data and analysis can be done with the help of the Alteryx. Then after that, it says now that data which has been analyzed, if it is presented with the help of the visualization tools, right? So it's a business intelligence platform which gives you the non-technical users with the tools for aggregating, analyzing, visualizing, and sharing the data. Right? So you don't know technically how it is happening, but in a non-technical business, users can also present the data in a with using the visualization tools that is called as the Power BI. And then caseware is nothing but doing the case study analysis, right? So it says is a data analysis software that helps in conducting the audit and assurance engagement, right? So specifically to do your audit and assurance engagement, it does a case study analysis and it helps you with the reporting. Right, so that's your caseware. Again, what is expected in your exam? Either a retail question or there could be the MCQ. That audit and assurance, to conduct that, which of the following software is used? And they say ACL, Alteryx, Power BI, and the caseware. Right, so those are the emerging technologies in the audit. Then after the emerging technologies in the audit, what is the next discussion we have over there is the automated tools in audit, which we will come to that shortly. And after the automated tools, what is the next discussion over there? Control considerations or the objectives of auditing digitally. So it says when you're auditing digitally, one, you have to consider the technology risk. These technology risks is again nothing but your fluid PCR, which we studied in point number 4, IT risk, right? Same points over there. And then key steps for auditors in a changing technology environment. Okay, auditor is doing the audit of, say, Zomato or some, Uber or so. So there's a continuously changing technology environment over there. So what the auditor has to do, one, consider the impact of the technology. Then once he know, oh my God, this company is entirely system driven, technology driven. Next, what he has to do, maintain professional skepticism. Then also understand the direct and indirect effects of the new technology. Then in the new technology, also understand how the transactions are being processed and what is the management process to select, develop, operate, and maintain the controls. Right? So again, this is an offbeat question which could come in your exam. Key steps for an auditor in a changing technology environment, right? So what are the key steps? You have to check the impact of technology. You have to be continuously alert. So you have to check for the new technology, the flow of the transaction and the management processes. Right? Key steps for the auditor in a changing technology environment, right? So changing, you have to understand, if there is a change in technology, what is the impact of that technology? Then on that impact, you have to be maintaining your professional skepticism. Then effect of new technology, flow of transaction, and the management processes, right, for the technology being used, right? So this point number 8, you can study it along with point number 4, right? So point number 4 and point number 8. Point 4 was IT risks, IT dependencies, and the control, right? And here this is the point 8, which is the technology risk and the key steps for auditing in a CTE. What is CTE? Changing technology environment, changing technology environment. And then they talk about the next generation audit. So what is one question which is expected in your exam is the aim, right, of the next generation audit. Okay, it will change from what to what, right? So from sampling to full population, multiple to one data set, and so. And then what are the devices which will be used in the next generation audit? It says 1, right, for doing the physical verification of inventory, no need to go manually. It can be done with the help of the drone. Even insurance company, to do the loss, valuation of the loss, they don't need to send a surveyor to do the valuation of the loss. They can send the drone again to do the checking, right? So again it says what can be used is the drone technology, right? Then after that you have the AR and the VR. Augmented reality is an increased reality. And an increased reality, that means you have an existing piece of land or something, and now that piece of land will be developed. So how it will look after it is developed, that is an augmented reality. Okay, and virtual reality is a simulated environment. There is no piece of land, it's entirely, you are in an imaginative world. So it's like, had you had a piece of land, and then how it would have been looked like, right? So that's the virtual reality. Nowadays you have a lot of these virtual reality game, right, wherein there is virtual reality, right? So wherein you think as if it's happening in your physical world or so. So augmented reality, they've given the example of which game? The Pokemon Go. And where in real life you go to a particular place and then you're able to play that game on your app. So it's a culmination of the actual reality with a increased version of that. That's the augmented reality. And virtual reality is you're sitting at one place and then you are like, you go to Universal Studios and so, and there you do some transformer ride or something, right? So it's a virtual reality created over there, right? Virtual reality. So how these technologies are going to help in the audit? It says allows the real world environment with augmented reality, right? So how the future, how if a company gets this loan or so, like prospective, that is the augmented reality. And virtual reality, it says it's a simulated environment, it's a fake environment. Like we talk about 2D, 3D, but now we have 5D, 7D also, wherein it says generate image, sounds, and even touch and smell. Right? So using the special equipment such as a custom headset, right? So that's the virtual reality, VR. And then you have the metaverse. What is metaverse? It says it's a convergence of digital technology to combine and extend the reach and use of cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and virtual reality. Right, so all this AR, VR, AI, and your cryptocurrency put together, that is going to become the metaverse, right? So now it says 1, you can attend a music concert in the universe, in the physical world. 1, you can also attend a music concert in the metaverse, right? So you have your digital avatar which you create for that. You can own a land in the universe. You can also own a land in the metaverse, and that land you can also give it on rent and also earn the rental income on that land. Right, so also, and already people have started owning the land in the metaverse, and started giving them in rent also. Right, so that is where they are talking about the metaverse. So a lot of crisis for human, basic human intelligence over here, right? Wherein you will be living into the two worlds. So you might have like an identity crisis. Is it happening in my real world or is it happening in my meta world? Right, so that's the metaverse, right? So beyond cryptocurrencies, yes, what does it say? Now what all can happen in the metaverse? 1 is the virtual banking, right? So you can even do the banking transactions in the metaverse, but in metaverse you will have to do the transactions only with the help of the cryptocurrency, the virtual currency, the bitcoins and so, right? Then you have the digital assets. So you can also own the assets in the metaverse, right? Then also education training can be provided, seminars, conferences, and also the data visualization and techniques. All of this can happen in the metaverse, right? All of this can happen in the metaverse. Okay, right? So that is our point number 9, right? So what was our point number 8? The considerations. Then the point number 9 was regarding the, right, the next generation audit. So now we are left with just one point of discussion over there, is the automated tools in audit. So quickly after the break, we do that discussion and then move on to our next point of discussion. Okay, so let's take a break. Right, so 10-minute break and then we start again.